That's how I get my old half-deaf dog's attention. Now, I want your attention for a minute. The founders wrote the Constitution back 1780 something. They stated that the states were countries, just as they were all over Europe, just as England was a state, and Switzerland was a state, and Russia was a state. We were United States, 13 United States. United does not belong to our present title. So, United just describes it. It's not the title of our country, it just describes our country, that we are United States, 50 of them today. It had a Senate and a House. The House represented the citizens, the voters. The Senate was to represent the states, the 13 of them that there were at that time. Representatives in the state houses would elect a senator. And the governor had to approve it, of course. He had a veto on it. But anyway, that person became a senator. And as has been in history, far back as you want to go, states usually represented the countries that, for example, Rome conquered. And they had a senator from each one of those lands that was conquered, and they represented the lands. And without much power, by the way. But anyway, William Jennings Bryan went into politics, and he ran for president 3 times and was defeated every time. But Woodrow Wilson, in 1912, he was a Democrat. He needed one more state to win. So he gave William Jennings Bryan the job as Secretary of State. Bryan, in 1913, decided that the Senate should no longer represent the states, should be elected by popular vote and represent the people that voted for him. So we would really have basically 2 houses of representatives. That would have helped him tremendously in the Democratic Party. And in 1913, he proposed this. And of course, nothing came of it. The president wasn't for it. But things went along, and there were other presidents elected, and we had World War I come along. Things were in a terrible turmoil here in this country, politically and otherwise. Industry and the capitalist system was in a jam, and we were sending all our money to Europe. So the Republicans decided that they, needing the votes, would pass this bill, and they would be able to, through newspapers and public opinion, be able to control the votes of the Senate. This was both a Republican and a Democratic fiasco. Because now, if we look back on impeachment was to be carried on by the states, with the Senate members representing those states. Senators being elected by a popular vote, they no longer represent the states. They were able to amend the Constitution to give the vote to the general public, but they didn't bother to change who the Senate representatives were to represent. I've done a fair amount of searching, and I can't find any place where they changed the law that the governor of the state can veto the election. So maybe the governor of Virginia, for example, could veto the election of Virginia's senators if they were elected by the opposite party. As far as impeachment is concerned, anyway, Does the Senate still represent the states? Or does the Senate represent the people that voted for him? Now, what I wonder is, can we legally carry on an impeachment at all, considering the great discrepancy between who the Senate represents? State legislatures should be represented, and the governor and the states should be represented, but they can't very well, because usually the elected officials are loyal to the people that elect them. And so we have a huge problem here. Not just because, and I'm not just saying this because Trump is being impeached. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to throw this whole thing out because they got nothing. The Democrats don't. They don't have anything to impeach a president with. What they're claiming is not even impeachable arguments. I've done a fair amount of searching, and I can't find any place where they changed the law that the governor of the state can veto the election of a representative or of a Senate. So maybe the governor of Virginia, for example, could veto, maybe on the grounds that the populace, voters, had not elected a suitable senator to represent the state of Virginia. This is all speculation, of course, but it's all speculation based on a lot of reading of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, because the Constitution doesn't make any sense without that Declaration of Independence. That sets up the whole need for a Constitution. I got about another minute, maybe two, to talk about the law a little bit. The law was set up not to give justice to the victim, but to give justice to the criminal. The court only has the right to find the criminal guilty. If he's not guilty, he's innocent. That is the sole purpose of the court. Okay, just another minute here. In 1917, they gave the election of the Senate to a populist vote. It's possible. There is no such thing as a constitutional impeachment since then. A man is guilty if he's proven guilty. He's innocent if he isn't proven guilty. And that's true maybe of the president too. He's proven guilty by the public. If a man is proven guilty by the general public and not by the 50 states as was intended in the Constitution, he may not have been impeached at all, no matter what this is decided in the Congress. Y'all think this over a little bit. I've given it a lot of thought, and I've done a lot of reading. The Democrats are saying that Donald Trump is impeached whether the Senate convicts him or not. We'll see if he runs for president, because an impeached president can't run for president again. So we'll know that for sure, no matter what happens in the fall.